Hey there. If you are wanting to learn more about anxiety triggers and how to spot them, then stay tuned. You're just in the right place. My name is Cai Graham. I am author of the Teen Toolbox. I am a parenting specialist, and it is my mission to support parents so that together we can build a mentally healthier and happier generation of young people. And how I do that is through my book, my free app that is also available in all good app stores, my coaching programs and my online courses. So I'm here to support you. So let's get on with anxiety triggers. Just as a side note, this is number 2 video in a series all about anxiety. So please go and look at the first one and the other 2 if they've been released. They are sort of a full package all about anxiety. Question. Did you know that 75% of mental illness starts by adolescence? And that's why I'm doing what I do, because I am trying to help young people. Because once they manage to conquer their anxiety and learn how to manage it better, then let's face it, the world's their oyster. And it's the same for anyone. In video 1, I was talking all about the composition of the brain in an easy to understand way. I was referring to Downton Abbey, actually, using that as a metaphor. So go and have a look at that if you're interested. But I was talking about the reptilian brain and the limbic system, which is the 2 parts of the brain that, when they get their knickers in a twist, when they start creating bad habits, that's when our anxiety and our panic attacks start getting triggered. So the trick is to find out what triggers it. Now here's the bad news. The good news is that there's a lot we can do about it. The bad news is that we don't always know what the triggers are, or we need to do a hell of a lot of digging. The limbic system, very, very quickly, is the reptilian part of the brain, which is basically the primitive part of the brain, which is the fight or flight, which tells us to get a shifty on if there's a saber-toothed tiger or if there's something life-threatening, because our brain is designed to protect us. It's really a survival mechanism. That's the problem. It hasn't quite developed. You know, the iPhone has developed within the last 10 years. The motor car has developed in the last, sort of few decades. The brain, no, it's always operated the way it did when it was designed. It hasn't quite caught up. So we need to have some coping strategies to help it. The reptilian part of the brain, basically, has a checklist, and it goes, right, here are all the things that I'm going to start getting panicky about, okay? And we don't know what they are until we start digging. And it could be public speaking. It could be a saber-toothed tiger. It could be a meeting with the mother-in-law. It could be going for a job interview. It could be getting on a bus. It could be going to Tesco's. You can see some of these really aren't that life-threatening, are they? And for some of us, our brain has put some of these tasks and some of these on the emergency trigger list. It could be some people, when the phone rings or when they know they've got to make a phone call, they sort of just, oh gosh, and they feel the butterflies in their tummy. Some people are terrified of wasps or spiders or whatever. And this is all our brain getting its knickers in a twist and putting these things on the emergency list. That ain't so helpful. So that's the reptilian part of the brain. And what we do need to do, and I gave you an exercise in sort of episode 1, and I'll give you another exercise in this episode later. But we need to retrain the brain that some of these things actually can be gracefully sort of taken off that list, because we really don't need to overreact terribly. Now there are other things that trigger us, which we might not want to remove from the list, because actually it's in our interest to be slightly more on edge or mindful or just aware that there could be dangers. If you are going to cross a 6-lane motorway, then yeah, we need to have that on the list a bit. We need to safeguard ourselves. We need to be aware of the dangers around us. If we are, I don't know, cooking and have sharp knives, whatever it is, if there are things that we need to be aware of, then we need to just allow our body and our mind to say, just hang on a minute here, just pay attention. And also, I mean, for argument's sake, public speaking, not really a dangerous, well, unless you fall off the stage, but not really a dangerous pastime. But we would still like to just have a few butterflies so that we know that we're going to be on our game. So the thing is to have a look at the symptoms of anxiety and sort of see how our body reacts to something when our mind is triggered. And many of these things could be butterflies in the tummy. It could be, sort of breathing a little heavier. It could be slight confusion, or you can feel it in your body. When something sort of pushes me out of my comfort zone, I feel it at the back of my knees, and I immediately go, oh right, okay, right, I need to pay attention here. So whatever it is, some people sort of sweat, some people feel nauseous, some people get headaches, some people shake, whatever it is, it's just going, oh, okay, right, these are symptoms that my body is preparing me for something dangerous. And so these are the physical triggers that help us to realise, right, this is something that we need to pay attention to. Okay, but when these symptoms get bigger and bigger and bigger and start snowballing, that is when we start getting problems. So it's important to acknowledge how our body is responding to what's going on. And so sometimes I did a live the other day where I got an email. And it asked me to do something that actually I'm quite good at. But my immediate reaction was, say no to this, say no, try and get, you don't want to do this, and just try and sort of make an excuse, and you're far too busy, let's find an excuse, okay. And I suddenly thought, no, hang on a minute. And I noticed the feeling in my sort of chest. It was all tense. I was getting really fidgety, my head was just getting a bit clouded, and I thought, what is all this about? And so looking at the physical, because immediately when this email came through, I thought, oh, I can't make it. And I was validating that. I was going, no, you can't, no, right, okay, well, just how should we compose this email so you don't have to? And then I thought, no, hang on a minute. And I went into my body and I felt where this was going on physically. And I suddenly realised it was nothing to do. I wasn't busy. I could do this standing on my head. But my body was sort of going into fight or flight over an email. So I was able to acknowledge, oh, hang on a minute, these physical symptoms are preparing my body to run. Let's look at this. Is it rational? No. Is it true? No. Is it life-threatening? No. What are you trying to avoid here? And so I was able to, before anything snowballed, I still had the cognitive functions. I was still thinking clearly enough to just, rather than shutting everything down, to just go, no, okay, come on. Let's just pull yourself together and stop being so silly. And so this hadn't turned into a panic attack, but I still was able to sort of notice the flutters and the triggers physically to go, oh, okay, yeah, this is something I don't want to do. And my body and my mind is trying to protect me from it. And the thing is that the more you give in to this, the more you allow this to happen, the more it's telling the limbic system, get ready, we need to put this onto the emergency list because she doesn't want to do this ever again. And that's the thing. So sometimes we have to call ourselves out on it. Sometimes we have to go, do you know what? No, hang on a minute. I'm in control here. And let's think of, is this going to serve me in the future if I keep on avoiding something? Because this is the problem. The more you avoid, the more you say, oh yeah, no, this is something to run away from. This is fight or flight. This goes on the limbic system emergency triggers. And it's going, no, Rob, it's very, very scary. And in fact, it's not. So whilst we can, in moments of calm, we need to be able to just pull ourselves back and stop ourselves from overreacting, because the more we avoid stuff, the more we go back into that cycle, which isn't going to serve us in the long run. So it's worth acknowledging. Let me just take a slurp. It's worth acknowledging that it's best to identify the triggers. Now, in this case, it was an email, but you might know some things that sort of trigger you. It could be exams, it could be making a tricky phone call, it could be speaking to your boss, it could be looking for promotion, it could be going for a drive with someone who doesn't drive very well. Whatever it is, it's a matter of, hang on a minute, how do I want to react to this, rather than how will I allow my body to react, and how, because once my body gets kicked in, my mind takes over, and my mind then, once we reinforce these things, our mind makes this into a habit. Does that make sense? So a lot of the good symptoms to look out for are butterflies in the tummy, sweats, hyperventilating, and then next episode, or one of the next episodes, I'll tell you what to do when you're hyperventilating. But it's just, you might not know what the triggers are, but you'll be able to feel them, if that makes sense. Great if yeah, exams always get me, or I can't stand games on a Wednesday. That's great. But sometimes we are sitting there minding our own business, and the panic attack comes, and we go, flip, where was this? And it's a matter of backtracking sometimes. The thing is that you might not always know the trigger. And it might take a long time to find that. And I'll give you an example in a minute. But that's all right, as long as you can start preempting the physical triggers and stop them in their tracks before they get out of control. There was one Vietnam vet who he came back from Vietnam, and he was suffering from PTSD, and he was having panic attacks. He wasn't sleeping. Insomnia is another a symptom. But his appetite had dropped, and he was really, really struggling. And sometimes he could have gone, days on end without having a trigger, and then he sort of would have one after the other, and they worked out eventually that what had happened in the long run was his wife had changed their detergent, and that detergent smelt of something that reminded him of Vietnam. And that was the smell of a detergent took him right back to when he had been fighting. So it wasn't anything stressful. It wasn't, well, it was as far as his mind was concerned, but it wasn't anything life-threatening that was, that was triggering him. It was something as innocuous as a smell. And so you might have to do a bit of digging to find out what it is that's triggering you, what it is. You might sort of suddenly realise, oh my gosh, it's only when I go to that place, or it's only when I eat that food, or it's only when I do, so be kind to yourself. Understand that our brain is a pretty tricky, it's very simple. It's all it wants to do is protect you, but when it gets its knickers in a twist, it can be really quite hard to sort of fathom out. So this might not be sorted out immediately, but you will get there in the end if you are kind and compassionate to yourself. And remember, thank your brain, thank yourself again. Yes, I know you're trying to protect me. Thank you, I've got this. Now, I in the previous episode, I gave you a breathing exercise. This is an exercise, it's really quite strange, but it's called hot hands. And what it is, it's all about visualization, because what happens is when we get an anxiety attack or a panic attack, the blood, as I was saying previously, the blood starts pumping around in our body, and it just sends us on high alert, and it sort of, we get hot, we get sweaty, we just sort of, we're trying to release all this energy. And what we need to do is we need to visualize, wait for it, and it works. So, just run with me here. You have to visualize making your hands really hot. Visualize it, because what you're actually doing is you're taking the panic, oh my God, what have I done? You're actually giving your brain something to think about. But so imagine, whichever thing springs to mind for you, how to make my hands as hot as possible. Now you could imagine warming them up against a fire. I can actually, when I'm doing this, I can actually feel my hands getting hotter, but there you are. Powerful stuff, isn't it, our mind? So imagine getting your hands really hot against a fire. Or, I don't know, sitting in a hammock and putting your hands on the hot sand. Gosh, I'm feeling quite calm, funnily enough. Or maybe just curling up on the sofa with a cup of tea, hot cup of tea or coffee. No, the people who are sort of, on the ball will be saying, no, you can't have tea or coffee because that's caffeine and that sort of stimulates the brain. Green tea or herbal tea, come on, you know what I mean. Or a Horlicks, so that's showing my age, or a hot chocolate or whatever. Just think of something that really, really, really warms your hands. And it's just trying to visualize your hands getting really, really hot, because you're taking your mind away from the panic, and what you're actually doing is you're visualizing the blood going to your hands so that it is keeping the blood flow going rather than sort of making you panic. And maybe you're lying in a bath or putting your hands in warm water, but whatever it is, just think of hot hands. If you don't like this, go to the previous episode. Box breathing is a breathing exercise. Now this should only take a minute to control, or to start getting control again. Or even if you just want to rub your hands together. But it's trying to think of a way to get the energy into your hands. It's just called hot hands, so that you can make sure, squeeze them really tight, whatever works for you. And it's just a way, I'm squeezing, you've got to see my white knuckles. And it's just a way of saying to the brain, hang on a minute, thank you very much. I know you're trying to keep me safe, but I've got this, and I just want to do this little exercise if it's all the same to you. So have a think about that. And it just helps you calm down. It just helps the physiologically in your body and in your mind. It's just like taking a big deep breath, and it just starts slowing things down. So if you like that, then please remember to subscribe. There's also more videos on this playlist, so please go and have a look at them. If you hit the notification bell, then you will be notified every time I go live, which is every Tuesday for Teen Toolbox Tuesday. And also I'm now doing Toolbox Takeaways, so that's sort of tools that help in under 10 minutes. So on that note, much love, and I shall speak to you very soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.